Hello my dear friends, you're in the Military with Summary channel. In this video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous 12 hours. We have lots of very interesting updates, so let's start. The first day of the Munich Security Conference has ended and we received lots of very interesting statements made by different leaders and different politicals. The President French Macron stated that if we reach a settlement on Ukraine, we will still have to contend with an aggressive Russia with a defensive industry on a sugar high and a bloated army. Also, he emphasized that the European Union is not sending troops into Ukraine seeking to avoid escalation. Today, if we intervene and send troops to the ground in the current situation, we would be responsible for escalation. We have no consensus to do so. We would be responsible for the situation spiraling out of control. The German Chancellor emphasized that Russia has to give up this terrible war against Ukraine and we have to do everything that is needed to bring them to the point where they see no further advantages in continuing this terrible war. We are not yet there, but look, this war is now lasting longer than the Second World War. It's terrible. Russia has it in its hands to stop it, but we also have it in our hands, America and Europe and Ukraine together, to bring them to this point. So as you can see, the European leaders are not seeking for the peaceful settlement of the conflict. They are seeking the way how to defeat the Russian Federation strategically. For example, Lindsey Graham emphasized that without China, Putin would be out of business. Without Brazil and without India, he would be out of business. So we got a bill. 85 co-sponsors, you know how hard it is to get 85 senators to agree on anything. Also, he added that I want to give tomahawks to Ukraine. I want the United States to supply tomahawks to reach out and hurt the infrastructure that Putin counts on to build the drones and all this other stuff. And the European leaders were trying to arrange a meeting between the President of Ukraine, Zelensky, and the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, but he changed his plans. Rubio cancelled the meeting with European leaders in Munich regarding Ukraine. Europeans view this as a weakening of Washington's interest in their participation in conflict resolution. The Secretary of State had planned meetings with representatives of the European Commission, Germany, Poland, and Finland, among others. The reason cited for the change was a tight schedule. The European Union official called the cancellation insane. But we can understand Marco Rubio. We see that something is going to happen very soon in the area of Iran, in the area of Persian Gulf. Most likely the strikes and the special operation is inevitable. So everybody is preparing themselves before the beginning of this probably very long war. And today we received several reports that the President of the United States of America considering several military plans against Iran, including long-term plans that can last for more than 2, 3, or even 4 weeks, which is obviously a very, very interesting situation. But let's return back to Ukraine. According to information we have, the next round of talks between Russia, Ukraine, and the United States of America are going to take place in Geneva on February 17-18. Kyiv will not change its delegation for the talks. Ukraine will not change the composition of its delegation for the next talks with Russia, despite the fact that the Russian side will be led this time by Vladimir Medinsky, not the GRU chief Igor Kostyukov. The Ukrainian delegation will include Kirill Budanov, Andrei Ignatov, David Arachmey, Sergei Kislitsa, and Vadim Skibitsky. So the Russians are going to change their delegations. The Ukrainians are not going to. So, and let's summarize everything. So, as a result of 2 days of different European big meetings, we are talking about meeting of Ramstein format and the first day of the Munich Security Conference. Ukraine will receive 38 billion in military aid this year from the participants of the Ramstein meeting, which took place yesterday. This includes over 500 million for American weapons and 2 billion for air defense. Largest donors this year: Germany 12.5 billion euro, Norway 7 billion, Sweden 3.7 billion, United Kingdom 3 billion, Denmark 2 billion. So Ukraine will receive lots of money, as you can see. So that is why the United States of America understands that most likely this war can last for a very long period of time. So that is why, according to information we have, the US is increasing pressure on Kyiv over Donbass. The Trump administration is increasing pressure on Ukraine, demanding concessions from Russia, including including the withdrawal of troops from Donbas. Washington's goal is to end the war by early summer. However, the specific levels or levers of pressure are not being publicly disclosed. Ukraine states that it will not sign the agreement without firm security guarantees from the West. Kyiv believes that Russia will reject any guarantees Ukraine deems sufficient. The form of the guarantees remains uncertain. Recent contacts only address technical issues without answers on the key terms. The Rada previously stated that the US wants to reach the result by May 15, but this is not an official deadline. So this is the situation. Anyway, let's wait and see what is going to be next. Let's wait and see what is going to happen during the Geneva talks on the 17th and 18th of February of 2026. But meanwhile, the Russians are preparing themselves before the beginning of another massive missile and drone attack. And this attack most likely is going to take place during these talks in Geneva. Russia is planning another large-scale combined missile and drone attack on Ukrainian energy infrastructure, which will take place either tomorrow night or the night after. Russia has accumulated dozens of Iskander ballistic missiles and 7 S-400 decoy missiles over the last 1-2 weeks and has concentrated them at various launch locations, especially Bryansk Oblast. The highest threat is to Kiev, Dnipropetrovsk, Zaporozhye and Kharkiv Oblast. If anyone is in this region right now, be extremely careful. That was stated and published by different Western military experts. So let's wait and see. And now let's discuss the situation on the ground. And first, let's talk about another massive attack that took place between the 13th and the 14th of February of 2026. According to information we have, the last night the Russians were attacking the city of Odessa. Odessa is sinking deeper into a blackout. Strikes have been launched against the Ukraine Armed Forces power facilities. Power facilities in Odessa and the surrounding region have been hit with uranium strike missiles and drones. Power has reportedly been lost in several areas of the city. So I would like to remind you that the Russians are bombing the city of Odessa. They started attacking the city of Odessa probably 5 or 6 days ago, and they haven't stopped yet. Almost every single day we receive videos from the city of explosions, of attacks. So these videos were received yesterday on the 13th of February of 2026. Yesterday it was reported that the Russians attacked an object of energy infrastructure or an object of critical infrastructure where heavy explosions, as you can see, were recorded. We can see the moments when power outages occurred. For example, the day before yesterday, on the 12th of February of 2026, we received almost the same picture. The Russians were bombing the city of Odessa significantly, dealing significant damage to power facilities, to port infrastructure, to different objects of critical infrastructure. Let's check the 11th of February. Probably the 11th of February, we haven't received anything. It seems that that was the first day when the Russians began bombing and attacking the city of Odessa so heavily. We have a video from the city of Nikolaev. Here we can see that the Russians, as a result of attack, destroyed a train that the Ukrainians were using to move cargo in the southern direction. So it seems that something is brewing in the southern parts of Ukraine. And yesterday I noted for myself that we haven't received almost anything from the Kherson direction, probably for 2 or 3 months. And maybe this silence is something like a silence before a storm, right exactly in the southern regions. You know that the Russians, despite the fact that the Russians were completely cut off from the Starlink system, that the Russians stopped their offensive operation due to many reasons on many directions, maybe the weather or something else. I believe that the Russians have several strong cards and several surprises prepared for Ukraine. So maybe one of the surprises, maybe one of the strong cards will be shown somewhere in the southern regions in coming days, because we understand that sooner or later the conflict will be finished, and it seems that nobody, neither the Russians nor the Ukrainians, will be able to achieve their goals. Maybe partially both sides will be able to achieve. So that is why I think that it's time to show strong cards if you have some. Now let's discuss the situation in the Zaporozhye direction. During the previous nights, we received lots of interesting updates from this area, and the Russians began confirming that something big is happening here right now. Fierce counterattacks continue along the entire front line in the area of responsibility of the Vostok Force Group. The Ukrainian armed forces, relying on rapid attacks, continue to send armored vehicles, attempting to break through to the lines we've already outlined several times, bypassing populated areas and defensive zone with maneuverable forces. So the Russians continue saying, the Russians are saying that there are very heavy clashes and that the Ukrainians are still trying to improve their positions in the northern parts of the Zaporozhye direction, trying to encircle the Russians on the Ukrainian side of the river of Gaichur, in the area of the settlement of Ternovate, and of course in the area of the villages of Avstapovska, Andriivka, Bratska. So Ukrainians are sending out thousands of soldiers, hundreds of soldiers each day, thousands of soldiers each week, hundreds of vehicles almost every single day. The Russians are saying that Ukraine suffered huge losses. You know, we don't have the Starlinks to understand what exactly is happening there. Maybe this is the reason why the Starlink was turned off, because Syrskyi realized, Zelensky realized, and Western leaders realized, and NATO, that without huge losses, the armed forces of Ukraine will not be able to regain control over these territories. We're talking about the territories along this yellow line, because without these territories, Ukraine will have less chances to save control over the siege of Zaporozhye during 2026. We have already discussed this several times, and the Russians understand this as well. They understand that if the Russians are able to repel all these attacks in this area and to save control over the main and strategical positions, it will be much more easier for the Russians to continue advancing further in the western direction during the spring and summer military campaigns. As of the previous 24 hours, we received lots of videos from the line of the settlements of Rizdvyanka and Vozdvizhivka. Here we can see vehicles that's most likely were taking participation in this counter-offensive operation, moving in the direction of the Russian lines, and how the Russians were attacking them with FPV drones and with artillery and with tank attacks or something like this. So as you can see, Ukrainians suffer huge losses in this area, and the Russians are still holding their lines. But you know that when talking about pro-Ukrainian sources, and this is the most interesting part, most of the pro-Ukrainian sources have already colored all these territories under complete control of the armed forces of Ukraine. But this is not the reality. There are still lots of Russian positions. Yes, the Ukrainians are trying to, as it was written by the Group of Forces East, the Ukrainians are relying on the rapid attacks, continue to send more armored vehicles, attempting to break through in the lines we already outlined several times, bypassing populated areas and the defensive zones. So the Ukrainians are trying to do something like this. They're moving their forces, they're trying to maneuver, trying to take under control through lines that are not taken by Russians. They're just trying to disrupt the logistic of the armed forces of the Russian Federation, to establish lots of pockets of the Russian forces, to encircle them, and then probably they believe they will be able to clear these pockets and to force the Russians to fall back. But the Russians, according to media, were prepared for this counter-offensive operation, and the Group of Forces East is one of the most experienced and powerful group of forces, so that is why this is not going to be a very easy trip for the Ukrainians. Anyway, let's wait and see what is going to be next. Now let's talk about the Konstantinovka direction. During the previous 12 hours, we received lots of very interesting videos. In this video, we can see how the Russians attacked a building in the northern parts of the southern part of the city. Very heavy explosion, and after the Russians attacked this construction with FAB 3000 bomb, as you can see, 50% of the building were reduced to ruins. So this video shows us and confirms that the Russians are still attacking this territory with all means, with all types of weapons they have, with the purpose to basically reduce the southern part of the city of Konstantinovka to ruins and to force the Ukrainians to fall back from this area. We believe that the city of Konstantinovka will suffer the same destiny as the city of Volchansk, at least its northern part. The siege of the city of Konstantinovka will last for a very long period of time, and the city most likely would be reduced till the dust. Another important video was published from the southeastern part of the settlement. Here we can see a Ukrainian soldier in the southeastern part of the city of Konstantinovka. This video shows us that the video was made on the 13th of February of 2026. Here we can see a Ukrainian soldier. His position was geolocated, and he's saying that the southeastern part of the city of Konstantinovka is under complete and strong control of the armed forces of Ukraine. This video was made right exactly at this point, and telling the truth, I don't know what to do with this video. Most likely I will adjust the map in Ukrainian favor, but now we are waiting for more proofs, more analysis from different sources to understand the exact positions of the armed forces of the Russian Federation in this area. But when talking about this video, of course, we need to adjust the map in this region, at least something like this. Anyway, let's wait and see. We need more information, more details. Maybe the video is archived and the pro-Ukrainian sources just added and changed the date. As for the Slaviansk direction, during the previous 12 hours, the Russians attacked the city of Konstantinovka with aviation. Lots of explosions were recorded. The Russians were using drones to attack logistic and warehouses. The Russians established certain control over the territory, and the Russians are keeping advancing further. As for the Kupiansk direction and as for the Kharkiv directions, during the previous 12 hours, we received lots of attacks with drones and with aviation. In this video, we can see how the Russians discovered another temporary deployment point of the armed forces of Ukraine, ammo depot, and the Russians attacked this ammo depot with drones, and then we can see a very heavy explosion. So, as I would like to point your attention to remind you, these days we start receiving lots of updates right exactly from the northeastern direction of the city of Kharkiv, which means that most likely, despite the fact that many experts reported that the Kharkiv direction is not going to be a primary but a secondary direction, we believe that the Kharkiv direction, at least the territory to the northeast of the Pechenegi Water Reservoir, is the primary task and target for the armed forces of the Russian Federation, because the Russians need to create a gap, a barrier, a buffer in the direction of the city of Belgrade with the purpose to reduce Ukraine's possibilities and capabilities to attack the city with missiles. And by the way, according to information we have, the last night the Ukraine armed forces shelled the city of Belgrade again with HIMARS missile systems. As a result of attacks, several buildings were damaged. So we see the Russians will try to create some buffer zone with the purpose to reduce attacks on the city. And that's it for the short video. Military Summary channel reminds to we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for your watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.